Hey, welcome back to the Jake Monroe Show, where I'm currently trying to get over a cold. So I apologize if I don't sound as silky smooth as I usually do. Today, we're talking about diversity. Everyone's favorite letter within DEI. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how does diversity equate to leftism, or more accurately, how it actually doesn't. I know, right? Liberals and leftists, they're like all about diversity, man. It's like their thing. But I'm going to talk about how the D in DEI might actually stand for dumbass with these people. If you're interested in picking up one of these hats, by the way, the link is down below. Also comes in red. So get in there, pick up your hat, make goth great again, become part of the MGGA, the new red-pilled goth movement out there. I see you. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. Especially the last week has been absolutely nuts. Can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much, everybody. You guys are amazing. Round of applause for yourselves. To the crew as well. There's no one here, it's just me. Testosterone, linked to having more conservative values. Who would have thought that being less of a pussy would make you more based? Don't be this guy. Don't be him. This quivering, shaking man bitch. You see, I think our first biggest indicator that the left are not actually diverse came when Donald Trump won in 2024. I think that was probably the most stark indicator of what we're actually dealing with here. We're dealing with a type of tribalism. This is no longer a political party. This is no longer a collective of ideologies. It is now a tribe. These people now make decisions for the greater good, for the survival of the tribe. See, what I'm trying to say is, the left is not diverse in the sense that, oh, it's like a multicultural, multi-ethnic collective of people. But whenever the demographic statistics came in for those who voted for Trump last year, and a large portion of that, or a larger portion than what was expected, came out was blacks and Hispanics. Well, the left were not too happy about that, were they? Suddenly they weren't so interested in things like inclusion and tolerance. No, there was a lot of very insensitive jokes going around about being deported. The assumptions being made that all Mexicans are illegal immigrants. Because being a leftist is not actually about inclusivity. It's about the complete opposite of that. It's about creating a unified ideological cult that they can use to wield like a weapon. And they're doing that in Goth at the moment. We've had a couple of casualties already, including one of my own, Jaylyn, exercising her right to share things like empathy for a man that was assassinated in front of his family. What a monster. This is why I have things like the Discord linked below for free-thinking, empathetic goths like Jaylyn. There's been a few other people that have been hunted by the goth Gestapo using the unifier of shared morals, or at least moral superiority, in order to cancel and deplatform. Now, the first mistake was being on Reddit in the first place. Don't go to Reddit. Don't go there, okay? Trump announced that there is a connection between Tylenol and autism. This prompted pregnant liberal women, armed with a lethal case of TDS, to put an innocent child in the firing line so that they can signal their virtues by taking Tylenol whilst pregnant. Now, the biggest mistake that these idiots made was, for one, procreating while being stupid. I think this should be a crime. Honestly, this should be a crime. DUI, driving under the influence, pregnant while dumb. I don't see the difference here. You should be cautioned for the first one. The second one, that's an honest offense. You know what you're doing at that point. But they assumed that Donald Trump just sort of sat in his chair, just in the White House, in the Oval Office, just staring at random stuff on his desk, and then said, do you know what? Tylenol probably causes autism. I'm going to say that on TV next. No, it's actually based on this study, which pre-exists. Trump actually even mentioned this at all. There are a bunch of news outlets online trying to discredit, disprove, or even downplay the findings in this paper. But if you ask me, if I was a pregnant woman, if I identified as a pregnant woman, I would do everything I could to make sure I do not damage the health of my child. Oh, but autism doesn't need to be cured, says these self-diagnosed on the internet. Yeah, I'm sure with your cutesy self-diagnosis of what you have been told, what you have perceived to be autism, I'm sure you feel super special and unique, but there are such cases of autism that is nonverbal, that requires around-the-clock help, that requires care homes after they reach a certain age. They're unable to go to the toilet by themselves. I think these people, if they were able to do so, and certainly in the case of their carers, I think they would probably say, yes, I would love to have a cure for this. This is really not great. Now, of course, as I said in the last video, at the very heart of this Tylenol situation are liberal white women. This type of performative moral virtue signaling using an innocent life that hasn't done anything yet and taking Tylenol online. You're doing it online. This is the problem. They're doing it online. Women love attention. These types especially love the attention for it, which is why they went ahead and posted videos of them doing it online. Now, there is this video saying that there is a woman currently on a ventilator and her liver is shutting down and she's going to die because she took so much Tylenol to stick it to Trump that she is now reaping the physical ramifications of this and will meet an ultimate end. I can't find any information anywhere that corroborates this story. The only source for this story is this lady right here, and I think this source is dubious at best. So don't make yourself look foolish out there and believe everything you see, because sometimes it is just a liberal white woman trying to get views and clicks. But again, at the root of the cause is TDS, this single unifier, this opponent, this enemy, this Hitler 2.0 that has been created in order to center in, pinch the tip of the collective hatred of the left going after Trump. What do we do now? I don't know. As long as we're doing it against Trump, let's do that. This level of TDS, willfully endangering the lives of fetuses, unborn children, seems to be the same affliction that has affected teachers, healthcare professionals, caregivers. Do you think these people, if they were able to ascertain the political beliefs of the people under their care, the impressionable children, the vulnerable, elderly, or sickly, do you think maybe they would change the quality of their care? Can you honestly say with absolute certainty this would have no effect whatsoever on their willingness to make sure someone doesn't die? Their direct input in indoctrinating children of parents of a particular persuasion politically? I mean, teachers are doing this anyway. In fact, teachers are nuts. There seems to be a lot of teachers out there that are pushing this shit. And you think this is not a coincidence. We know it's not. But I'm not here to get to the root cause of that. It's fruitless. We got Nick Fuentes for that. Now, the study I want to talk about is actually this one. This one right here. A lot of people seem to be struggling to truly grasp some of the concepts that were used, some of the techniques and the process that was used to ascertain the fact that people on the right tend to have a far more diverse set of opinions as opposed to the tribalism that is present in the left. This graphic, while very vaguely described in this actual paper, it also does go into a vignette study. And a vignette study that was used in this was to determine not just how, in the initial study, how people originally thought about each of the points that was presented to them, but also how they feel about people they perceive to be an out-group, right? How do they feel, how do they perceive people who are not of their political camp? This graphic here also represents this diversity of thought, this diversity of opinion. Whereas liberals were far more unified in their singular hatred, people on the right were ranging from indifferent to equally disdainful of those opposed to them. The study also goes into the fact that people who are considered to be centrists or moderate were far more likely to find themselves tipping over the fence into the right-wing side, into the Republican conservative side, sorry to use the correct terminologies here. This leads in to the truth that the liberal and democratic systems are dissolving. They are losing power all the time. We are seeing the symptoms of this throughout the nation. We are seeing the struggle. We are seeing the last shaking, trembling fist grip onto the final remnants of power as it's being redistributed. Leftists have become so repulsive, so disturbing in their beliefs, in their behaviors, that they are no longer winning over new people. For once, for the first time in probably a long time, the youth are now finding their way over to the conservative side, because the conservative side is not insane. Now, this is why you shouldn't go to Reddit. Okay? I get it, right? You go on a Reddit, you've got r/everything you could ever want. People discussing things, but you need to remember it is infested by these ideological, morally superior assholes, these narcissistic, egocentric tools. You want to see the textbook definition of power trip? Just talk to any Reddit mod. Oh my God. You seen that episode of American Dad where they're allowed to use the tannoy system, the announcement systems, to read out the announcements for the day? And every kid that gets in front of that mic, that gets given the power to read out the announcements to the school, they end up going power hungry and losing their minds. It's like that. It's what a Reddit mod is like. But if you go through the Reddit thread that's discussing this study, you will find that there is a great deal, almost exclusively, of liberals, leftists, center-lefts, progressive, Democrats. It's a veritable buffet of everything that is left. Every flavor of it. Every single flavor and texture of left is in that thread, trying to justify why being a tribal asshole, being a violent rhetoric spewing shithead is perfectly justified, and how being diverse of thought on the right, more conservative side is actually a bad thing. You know, it reminded me of that very similar story that came out about the Gen Z stare, which I think is probably one of my favorite things, because I noticed this and I didn't realize this was a generation-wide phenomenon. See, the Gen Z stare was initially proposed as a stare of someone who is socially incapable as a result of a very early exposure to social media, to conversing using text, completely void of anything natural like inflection or body language or eye contact or the usual pacing of a conversation. They're so used to conversing over text and keyboard formats that whenever they're actually presented with a real human being in real life, they're staring at you like deer in the headlights. See, the way Gen Z tried to reframe the Gen Z stare, they tried to get all superior on your ass. Yeah, the Gen Z stare isn't because we're socially inept. It's actually because we're so smart that when you idiots come in and ask us stupid questions, we can't collectively believe how stupid you are. Nonsense. You're telling me that Gen Z as a generation are so smart that they can't even begin to deal with the stupidity of millennials and Gen Xers? I'm not buying it. This is the exact same attitude that they just used in this Reddit thread to try and explain why their tribalism is actually super cool and you're all stupid actually for being diverse. Seriously, look through this thread, man. It's just all leftists, liberals, social democrats, and then there's one conservative guy. And you know what he said? I'm so glad I haven't been blocked yet. I laughed for about 5 minutes after I read that. What does that tell you about Reddit? What does that tell you? You know what? I actually saw something the other day that made me think. It made me think that maybe liberal white women are probably the biggest racists of us all. We can only aspire to be as thoughtlessly racist as they are. At least our racism is statistically based. Theirs is just rampant. These idiot liberal women and their culturally suicidal desires are the biggest racists of them all. Stay with me here. These chicks exercise this arrogantly narcissistic attitude of the white savior. I'll save you, little brown man. I'll let you stab my husband and let you get away with it. This is a real story, by the way. That's a real story. A man died. It's incredibly sad. And the only thing that was standing between that happening and justice for that happening was a liberal white woman. Now go vote blue because I allow you to exist to do so. It's exactly what it is, isn't it? This is why they keep letting these criminals out, these statistically predictable violent criminals, That's why they keep letting them out. You think ICE is doing a crazy job right now? Deporting all the illegal immigrants? These unchecked, unvetted criminals who, if we're lucky, their only crime is being in these countries illegally. If we're lucky, that's the only crime they've committed. If you want to see an even more efficient version of ICE, right? Hypothetically speaking, if you wanted to see something that was unprecedented in its efficiency, in its force. If there's another presidential election and it turns out even more ethnic minorities voted for conservatives, watch liberals make ICE look like mall cops, okay? There is no diversity within liberalism. It is purely circumstantial. There is no diversity of thought, and any multicultural diversity is purely there because the assumption is being made that these brown people vote left. And if you don't, they will turn on you. Look at this. Poor black man in the street just trying to do his job, working for Amazon. He gets shoulder checked because he's not supporting the cause. How does this actually equate to goth, Jake? Well, I'm about to tell you. I saw this statement floating around, this one here. It's about being intolerant towards intolerance. It's like we shouldn't be inclusive of people who are intolerant. Naturally so, right? This is why we have borders, for example, right? To keep out people that do not have our best interests to heart. This attitude right here was one of the biggest exposés of the leftist thought process. It's their projection. Their projection was the biggest exposure they've ever had for me. It's like we have to be intolerant of the intolerance. Don't let them in here. You see, the reason why they're saying this is because to them, disagreement is violence. If you disagree with them, they're going to be violent. So they assume, they project that we're the same. It's like, oh, well, if we let an intolerant, if we let someone in here with an alternative political view, with alternative political ideologies, come in here, they're going to be just as violent as we are. But that's not the case, is it? The left are the violent ones. We can have, as psychologically proven, we can have differing ideologies, we can have different perspectives and opinions and coexist peacefully. Be civil with each other. Just enjoy a rip-roaring good time down at the goth clubs, together, unified by music. And music alone. In fact, sometimes unified by great outfits, which are also very, very nice to look at. But that was the biggest exposure for me. It's this projection. We can't let them in because they're intolerant. They'll. No. That's you. That's your attitude to people that disagree with you. You disagree, violence. Provably so. So we can't let conservatives in because they disagree with us, and therefore because we're also violent, they must also be violent as well for things that we do that they disagree with. No, this is wrong. You are projecting and exposing yourself in doing so. You know, that whites-only neighborhood that you've seen floating around, this controversial, for some reason, whites-only neighborhood, they exist already, by the way. It's cul-de-sacs in America filled with whites-only neighborhoods. Property prices are quite expensive, but this whites-only neighborhood sounds pretty good, man. This commune. In the sense that maybe that's something we should do, you know? Keep these crazy goths out, these liberal psychopaths masquerading as goths, cosplaying as them. They have no interest in actually upholding the original values, the unifying themes of art and music. We should make our own neighborhood. Since they've already proven that if you disagree with them, they get violent, I think that's a pretty great precedent set up to start moving away from it all, creating our own spaces, one where people are allowed to disagree, have different opinions and ideologies, and just coexist and enjoy sharing common ground, common interests, like the old days. That's why I set up a Discord. It's linked down below. Check out the Discord. It's an amazing group of people, able to disagree, but more importantly, they love talking about the things that they have in common. Now, if you are an iOS user, you may find trouble signing up through your phone, but you can do it through desktop. I can't fix this, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make it a really, really big, really large, significant space to help cultivate a far more mature subculture of people that actually do want to just be themselves, for realsies. And not just mask your conservatism so that you can spend time in Reddit amongst people that would probably get pretty violent with you if they figured out what your actual ideologies are. You can go into my Discord, go nuts. It's great in there. It's fun. So please sign up. I'm trying to do something. To have this psychopathy within the subcultures is going to be the death of them. Absorbed into the leftist homogeneity of tribalistic authoritarian control. But this leads into my next video. The inevitable next step of what I'm doing and what is being inspired. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Make sure you clip it, share it, talk about it, leave comments, leave likes. Follow me on all of my other socials as well, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao.